Everyone. My name is Jagriti Srivastav. Welcome to day 1 of Fundamentals of Programming. Today we are starting with basics of understanding what programming is. So, this is the first chapter of Introduction to Programming. Now, what is programming? Programming is a process of giving instruction to a computer so it can perform various tasks. It can be anything. Think of it like writing a recipe, or maybe traveling to a certain place, or maybe providing any idea to anyone, any person. So it all consists of step by step instruction that a machine can follow to get the right result. Like if we have to provide write a recipe, then we need to follow certain steps so that the recipe will be good. If we are going somewhere, then we need to follow certain way, certain instruction that we can reach on time. So that is what programming is. And imagine like you are using any food delivery app like Zomato or Uber Eats. So behind the scenes, code is telling the app how to search for a restaurant, so menus, place an order, if there is any kind of discount, what is the trending food for today, and calculate the estimated delivery time. So all of these are using any programming. So it will programming will always help us automate tasks, solve problems, and create different kinds of application. In today's world, world application is whatever we are doing with programming. And next we have programming languages and paradigms. So there are many programming languages like Python, Java, C, JavaScript. Each has its own syntax and strength. Python is often used in automation, AI, and web scraping, like uh, Amazon's price tracker updates and product prices in real time. You can see Amazon has every day sale, and it provides discount based on your location. So this is all Python. That Python works for it. Java is used in multiple enterprise related applications, Android applications like, for example, WhatsApp. And JavaScript, yeah, you are using Gmail, you are using YouTube, then of course you can see JavaScript is behind it. And another we have is programming paradigms. So that will help us structure any code. We have multiple programming paradigms like procedural, object oriented, and functional. Procedural is something like following a cooking recipe step by step. Everything should be line by line, and step 1, step 2, and step 3 will be followed. Next is object oriented. So in case of object oriented, everything works like an object. Like suppose you are organizing a car where each part, engine, wheels, steering, horn, these are object of the car, and it has its own functions. So that is object oriented. And next is functional. So let's example of vending machine. You give it an input, maybe money and code, and it provides you output like with a snack, maybe a sneaker. So with no memory of the past, what you have done in the past, it is not written, but every time whatever you insert in, provide to the machine like money and code, it will provide you output. That is functional. And next thing we have algorithm and flowchart. So simple algorithm is something that we are writing any program in a very simple language so that every layman, every single person will be able to understand. And flowchart is something that we provide uh, in a diagram, in a design form, in the colorful pattern with lines and different kinds of boxes. So before we write any kind of code, we plan it using algorithms and flowchart. If we have algorithm and flowchart, then of course you can design any program, design any application in very easy way. An algorithm is a series of steps to solve a problem. Let's say you are an ATM. So step 1, there will be insert a card. Step 2, enter pin. Step 3, select transaction, complete transaction. So that is always language independent, and it will only focus on logic. And it has proper key properties like input, output, and it will provide define that what each process is going to do. And after the end of the all process, there will be end of the program like finiteness. And next is there is flowchart. So flowchart is visual diagram. It provides visual representation of all these processes using arrows, shape, decision blocks. It is like Google Maps route for your logic. So we have, suppose we are planning and understanding and communicating, but we have a proper visual representation of those things. So we have common symbols like oval, which is especially used for start and end. Rectangle is used for process and operation. Parallelogram is used for input and output. Diamond is used for decision, like if you have to go, if not you have to go, else, like that. So this is all about algorithm and flowchart. And next is we have compiler versus interpreter. So once we have written our code, how does the computer understand it? We need to tell the computer that this is the process to understand our code. Computer is not a human being that whatever we say in a specific language, like suppose you are speaking English, suppose you are speaking Chinese, Japanese, then German people will understand German, Chinese people will understand Chinese, and all of the people will understand English. But in case of computer, the process is totally different. So that is the role of compiler and interpreter. Compiler is something that translates the entire program at once, like writing a book, printing a final copy and then reading it. That was compiler does. And interpreter, it translates one by one, each line, each single line, like reading a recipe, cooking it one by one. So compiler provides an executable file, but interpreter, they don't need any executable file. You don't need to execute because everything is done line by line. And of course compiler, since compiler does everything at once, so it is always fast. But in case of interpreter, it is a little slow because it provides any basic logic for the beginners. So it is really good for beginners and scripting and testing. So example of, you can see compiler as C programming language, C++ or Go. So they use compiler, like full example of full video game like GTA, it is built in that way. And Python uses interpreter. So Python programming language, they use interpreter because everything should be done line by line. So it is great for rapid testing, like when you quickly automate a task on your computer. So compile code is faster, but interpreted is easier to debug. This is the difference. And next is the most important, how do we are going to write our code, how we are going to present our thought and process into something. Like suppose if we are in school, if we are in college, then we have a notebook, we have a copy and pen, so that we do different kinds of classwork and homeworks and different kinds of deliverables to the teacher. But in case of programming, where should we write codes? So there are different process that is called IDE, integrated development environment. So especially we use it for writing codes. We can use simple text editor like Notepad also, but if you use IDE, then it is really nice because they come with different kinds of features like text editor, error checker and debugger. Let's say example of IDE like Microsoft Word for coding, but it will check only spelling and highlight mistakes, but it will not let you do multiple things, like maybe there is any error in the code, or maybe you need syntax is different, so in that case you need a proper IDE. So we have very popular IDE for Python is PyCharm. We have code blocks for, or Visual Studio IDEA for C and C++, IntelliJ IDEA for Java. And if you don't know anything there, then there is something like Notepad, that is not IDE but it works. So these tools, they always manage coding faster, cleaner and easier to manage. So this is all about fundamental of programming and introduction to programming in the first day, and you have completed your first step to programming. Now you will be able to understand what programming is, how to plan using algorithm and flowcharts, how to use tools like compiler and IDE that help run our ideas into working application. In the next chapter, maybe we will divide for variables, data types, and input and outputs, start building our very logic based program. So see you in the day 2. Thank you.